Hello, everyone. It is Monday morning again. Here we are, 8 a.m. local for me and almost everybody on the stream here. I'm Jamie Langsco, founder of Chaotic Good Consulting, and I am joined by my fabulous cast of co-hosts, Jackie Salinas, Laura Holmes, and Karen Walker. And today we are talking about, as always, current events in the community industry. And then we have special guest, Dr. Ravi Gundlapalli, who is joining us in the second half of the show. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And if you didn't know, if you're watching us on LinkedIn, you can actually drop comments on this post, and we will be able to see and respond to them live. So please feel free to drop your questions, comments in the chat, and let's dive in. So, okay, quick icebreaker. I was thinking about this morning as I was dancing around my kitchen listening to the Trolls soundtrack, I think.
New NSYNC?
Sorry?
The new NSYNC? Is that what you were?
No, I was listening to, okay, back up. My now 5-year-old, which by the way, it is birthday season in my house.
Yes.
So
happy
everybody in the house has birthdays in the next 2 months. And she goes through these phases of different movies that she's super obsessed with. And then she'll watch them until she has them memorized and then never wants to watch them ever again. So she right now is into Trolls. And so I have the Anna Kendrick song from Trolls, the Get Back Up Again. Very peppy and like hypey. So I was listening to it this morning as I was making my coffee, and I was like, dang, I wonder what the other ladies' like hype music is like. So I'm gonna throw that out there. What's your favorite like walk-up song, your hype music when you walk on stage or you walk? I mean, I'm a former softball player, so like walk up to the plate. Like, what would be your walk-up song?
Ooh, this is a fun question. I don't have an answer, but it's a fun question. So let me think about that.
I love a good walk-up song, and I love the reference to softball/baseball because it's so important. You guys are probably gonna be shocked by mine, but mine's Phoebe Bridgers. Does everybody know who that is?
Nope.
I know, but I don't see her as so much as a hype.
A little more chill.
I know, but
she's like a little indie.
Yeah.
Which song?
She's like therapy for every woman. And that's kind of what I love about her.
Yeah, I love.
You listen to her lyrics and you're like, oh, I can relate to this so much.
Like, girl, I feel you. I feel you. I'm here with you.
She's not super hype, though. It's very mellow music. Some of it is.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, I love Phoebe Bridgers. We listen to Phoebe Bridgers every morning in my household. So
I love that. What about you, Jackie?
I don't really have one specifically, but
I'm surprised. I was expecting you to be like, okay, I've got it. This is my one I listen to when I get in the car and I got to like get somewhere real fast or something.
I will say, like, I don't know if you guys, it's been pretty popular on TikTok, but it's a new artist called Chinchilla. And she's got that song Little Girl Gone.
Okay, well, see, this is why I ask these questions, because I have to go now and learn current music.
Here, let me see if you can hear it.
I'm going to Google that instead of look at it on TikTok.
Can you hear it?
TikTok? I am under a rock. No. I will Google, maybe Spotify.
That would you can find it on Spotify.
That would get closer. Chinchilla. Oh my gosh.
She's writing that down.
I am. I'm typing with, like this. That's how I'm typing.
You know, if you go Google chinchilla, you're just going to get a bunch of cute
animals.
Right? Yeah. It's not a bad thing. I mean, chinchillas are adorable. Don't get me wrong. Okay, well, going back to Karen's artist and like feeling the lady power vibes, Carrie Melissa Jones this week posted a scathing history of the CMX organization, which for those of us in community, we know is a powerhouse in the industry. And so it was really interesting and heartbreaking to hear the experience that her and the other, early members of the CMX organization have experienced. So wanted to recognize that. Shout out to Carrie that we support you. And, I'll be at CMX next week, but Jackie and I have our own horror story of being involved.
Yeah. I mean, after that experience, I just never wanted to go back again. I'm actually surprised you're participating again.
I wasn't planning to, honestly. I thank you. Shout out to Better Mode, who is sending me this year, but I was not planning to go. I had not budgeted to go at all because last year was a train wreck. So for those who aren't aware, much love to the women who were put in charge of organizing that event last year without proper resourcing and support. But as speakers, both Jackie and I had submitted
independently.
Yeah, separately. We had never met. We didn't know each other. We had separately submitted proposals to speak at CMX last year, and we were both accepted. Yay! But after that, they did not actually communicate with us what the plan was until we found out we were on a panel.
Yeah, which was like crazy because you submitted for a workshop and I just like a session, and very different topics, I think, as well. Like I don't even remember what I submitted for anymore, to be quite honest. But yeah, it was kind of like we got lumped together, and it was actually, I was going to be interviewing Jamie, and Jamie's like, I submitted for a workshop. I'm like, how am I being interviewed now all of a sudden?
Yeah. And I mean, I looked at that and I was like, this is not right. This woman that I've never met before, who, I mean, thank you, CMX, for bringing Jackie and I together, I guess, is the win that came out of that.
Silver lining, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it was, I went back to them and I pretty much said, no, that's not how we're doing this. And I don't feel comfortable with being interviewed by somebody who also wanted to speak. Like, she has her own amazing experience and perspectives to share. And so we actually created our own panel discussion. And I grabbed Gigi, who is also on our team at Chaotic Good, and said, hey, you want to be on stage at CMX? Let's go make it happen. And so we both were interviewed, and Gigi got to have her first time on the CMX stage. So it ended up being a win that we created. But I know that all of the other speakers and presenters were
in the same boat.
Yeah.
It was not a good speaker experience. And after that, I was not motivated to submit for another session. And actually I haven't submitted. I know you said it's like conference season coming up, and I did not submit any papers because I was just like, why?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that burning you for that whole experience. I mean, it's especially for anyone who out there who is thinking about starting to speak and going out and establishing yourself as an expert. And so, I mean, I could see that being really discouraging. So I hope that anyone who their first time was last year at CMX does not get discouraged forever from submitting to other conferences. And I mean, shout out to the Talkbase team for the Prague conference this year. That was amazing. Just such a wonderful experience compared to the CMX experience last year. So
I have some questions because I don't know anything about the CMX. I'm just listening.
We also have questions, but
what do you think's happening? Like, why do you think it's running so poorly and like such a bad experience? And is it a bad experience for the people who are either watching or attending too?
I would have said last year, I would have said yes to the attendee experience and to the speaker experience being both of them poor. First, as from an attendee perspective, you were walking into a conference where you didn't even know what the final agenda was really.
Wow.
Up to probably, I would say maybe like a week before, weeks, maybe 2 weeks. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
And then also their expo floor was pretty bare. And I'm also coming from it just to give people like perspective. I've been in the seat of having to coordinate like from our like products presence at CES to like small events to even designing virtual conferences. So I'm not just like nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking, but it was like, this was a really poor experience, like poor communication, poor like promotion of the event. And then it was like a long silent period from when you submitted as a speaker your call to paper to being notified, oh, you're accepted, to being like, oh, you're actually now doing a completely different session that you didn't submit for. So I think
we
it
made
was
this decision without asking you if
yeah,
that was
there was
okay.
no communication of like, hey, I know that you submitted for this, but whatever, things change. Do you mind doing this? It's like, nope, you're speaking with Jamie. And we were like, who the hell is Jamie? Who the hell is Jackie?
Yeah.
So yeah, that
Was
It was
last,
wild.
oh, sorry,
no, go ahead.
bad timing. Was last year the first of this type of experience? Like, had they done this prior and it was better, or like have they slowly been getting worse, or what happened?
I don't
So
know.
my outsider perspective is that one of the original founders who has kind of been the face of the organization and who is called out in Carrie's post is David Spinks, and he left the organization. And the lady who took over, I think, was out on leave, and that's why I said they were under resourced. They weren't supported properly. This was not the first event. The organization's been around since 2013, I think, at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And so they've been doing this every year, same venue, same everything. And so I think it was frankly just folks who weren't experienced at doing this type of work. But it definitely left a bitter taste, I think, for a lot of the speakers. And this year, there seems to have been a lot more focus on bringing in like vendors to speak, as opposed to elevating the voices within the profession, which I think is also problematic. And it's another point that Carrie raised in her post was we have a primarily female-dominated profession, but the dominant voices in the industry continue to be men. And so in that sense, I think that maybe the logistics were poor last year, but overall, I don't know. I guess maybe as a more senior and experienced woman in this industry, I don't find that much value anymore in the organization. And I don't know if it's because they're catering to a different audience. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like they're catering to a different audience, or it sounds like they brought in some like corporate event manager, because this happened also when I was at Intel at IDF Intel Developer Forum, where instead of it being for the developers, they got so hyper focused on selling sponsorships, and in order to make the sponsorships, sexy, you had to give them stage time, and then it went from being sessions created by developers for developers to a marketing dude pitching a product to developers, and then it killed the experience.
So, I mean, that begs the question. So, for everybody who is joining us for the first time, a little bit of background on everybody here. So, a lot of Laura's most recent professional experience has been on the onboarding and implementation side. Jackie has done a lot of work on open source communities and developer marketing, community marketing. And Karen is with MentorCloud, where she is the director of customer success. And so, approaching events in a way that continues to be viable for those audiences, I think is something that resonates with all of us, whether it's written content, live content, whatever. And so, I mean, I would love to hear either from you all or from the audience, what are some organizations that you think do this very well? What are the conferences that are underappreciated or the publications that are underappreciated for their audience? And it could be for anything. If you're into knitting, if you think there's a great knitting publication, I know the knitting community is like a big deal. So shout out to them. But
knitting is hard. I tried it once and I was like, oh, my fingers don't work that way.
I tried it too and I couldn't do it, but both of my kids went to Montessori and they can do it like that.
That's wild.
I was so defeated. I was like, this seems like a very relaxing activity. And I was so stressed and my fingers weren't moving the way they were supposed to. I don't know. I'll have to, yeah.
Yeah. And as I was like, oh, as I grow old, I can like knit.
Right.
I like could not do it. Could not. No.
My hands are already cramping. I'm like, damn, I'm not that old, but I am not going to be that grandma, apparently.
Got to find different hobbies.
I'm going to sit on the front porch and throw rocks at kids as they come off the lawn.
It takes a little dexterity too.
Yeah,
you got to be able to.
You got to be
Hey, hand coordination. Hand coordination.
Just get like a little launcher.
She was kidding, everybody.
Yes, of course.
Of course. We're being funny.
Monday funnies. Sorry, I really detoured you on that one.
Yeah.
My bad. You were asking about communities that do this well.
Yeah. So, I mean, if folks have any ideas there, feel free to drop those in the chat, because I think it's important to elevate those communities that don't always get the platform, right? Especially communities that are doing a good job. Let's look at good examples of that.
So the one, and I know, Jamie, you and I've had this conversation a few times. So Code for America has fantastic community events that they hold and really highlight tech that's doing, good in the community. So I always attend all of they do have in person, which I've never been able to attend, but they do have a lot of online events as well. But those are the ones that I've seen really give voice to all communities as well. So not just women, but the civic tech, whoever they're servicing. So they're really good at giving platform for the tech that they're servicing. So that would be the one that I would call out, is Code for America.
I love that. All right. Well, I'm doing a quick time check here, and I am so excited to welcome our next guest. He literally wrote the book on mentoring, author of The Art of Mentoring, CEO and founder of MentorCloud, Dr. Ravi Gundlapalli. And let's go ahead and bring him on stage. Welcome, Ravi.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Oh, Laura, good
morning.
To see you. A lot of familiar faces.
Hi.
Hello.
Well, we're so excited to have you on. We've been talking a bit this morning about some other topics, but super excited to dive into mentoring, how the community can support a mentoring program. But first, I would love for you to tell our audience your story about how you got into mentoring and why it's so important to you, and why that has become a critical part of your work.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. And it's always something I enjoy, having a conversation around a topic that I deeply love and support every single day. So mentoring, it really in simple terms is a human to human transfer of wisdom. So I have always shared whatever I knew, and I've always had the curiosity to learn if I didn't know something, right? So it is as human as you can get when it comes to mentorship. So I would say it has been part of my life. I've always had other people to sort of guide me and show me ways when I didn't know what to do. And there were always people who would trust me with their careers and with their educational choices to ask me. So it was something part of me, but it became more formal after a life-changing event Several years ago, I was on a plane. The plane almost crashed into another plane, but interestingly enough, the other plane had the president of India in it. So luckily, the accident was averted in less than 1.2 seconds. It could have been really bad, but I'm glad I'm here today. So that got me to really think, what was the homework I didn't finish? Because I felt like my school teacher had me stay after school because I didn't finish my classwork. So that was a thinking. So I said there's something that I didn't finish. That's why I got the chance to go back to the planet and finish it. And after reflecting on it a little bit, the next morning in the newspaper, everybody talked about President of India saved, and a funny thought ran through my mind. Why is it that nobody wrote Ravi Gundlapalli was saved? So all of these thoughts came together and said, what could I have done? What could I have done by then to really make the world miss me? And so I kind of thought about it, and because as a guy with a PhD in fluid mechanics, I'm always thinking about flow of something, right? Flow of fluids, flow of money, flow of blood. So I said, what about the flow of wisdom? So that's how it happened over a few months, thinking through mentorship as a mechanism to streamline the flow of wisdom. So that's why I got into this, and it became part and parcel of my journey for the last 10 years.
I love that. And I will admit it's not the first time I've heard the story, but it's very inspiring every time I hear it. And now you have a mission. What is your mission with MentorCloud?
Yeah, the mission is really to impact as many people, to recognize and take full advantage of this simple human connection mechanism to really accelerate your career. So I wrote down on that day that if I did something to impact 100 million people with the transformative power of mentorship, that is worth, I mentioned, if that accident ever happened again or something like that. So to impact 100 million people with the power of mentorship is really the mission I am on. And to reach that many people, you got to have technology. So that's why I built a technology platform that can, make that happen at that scale.
Ladies, do you have a mentor that, was really impactful for you, and what made that impactful? And then as they're thinking on that, Ravi, what do you think is important to have in a mentoring relationship? Laura, go ahead.
Oh, sure. So I was thinking back to early in my career. I started in HR. I was thrown into kind of a leadership training program. I'm still like, how did they give me all this responsibility as like a 22, 23-year-old? I'm like, whoa. And so I was a little fish out of water, but there was a gentleman named Joel who was kind of my dotted line boss in the HR world. And I think what made him impactful and is he actually took the time to care and ask questions. It wasn't a transactional relationship. It was storytelling. It was questions. It was, really wanting to get to know me and understand kind of the journey I was on that he was probably on, not all too many years before me. And so, Ravi, to hear you share that transfer of wisdom, to me, it's really that opportunity to connect with someone and share your lived experience to let the other person know, hey, I've been through this. Like, you can get through this too. And here's a little bit of what I did that might help you that I learned. So you don't have to learn maybe the hard way or without any sort of guidance. And Joel was really a formative person in my career. I ended up leaving Target and went and worked for him in an HR role he created. And he was just a great human and took an interest in me that felt extremely genuine. And I think that's why it stuck with me.
Great story. Humans, typically, if you go to a good movie, we want other people to watch it. Right? If
Right.
you go to a good vacation, so you got to go to Bali, you got to go to Arizona, something, whatever we enjoy, we are naturally inclined to share it. So this is when you see someone that can benefit from whatever you have gone through, it is very human to actually share it. And if you apply that to wisdom, if you apply that to what you call a shared experience, it can do magic to the other person. you
Mm-hmm.
know again, I'm simplifying it, but just to let your audience know it is not rocket science. When let's say somebody, you just went to Italy for a vacation and you told 20 friends and five of them went and they came back and told you, oh my God, that was a great recommendation, thank you so much. How good do you feel? Imagine same thing happened, right? Whether it is a book that you read or whether it is a critical career decision you made that made a big difference, if it impacts the other person and they came back and told you, you feel so human, you feel so useful and valuable to somebody else, because somebody else is flourishing and happy and growing because of something so simple that you shared, that you didn't have to spend any money. You just had to have the heart to just let it let it be shared.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that, Ravi, in professional settings, there needs to be a culture that is supportive of that type of communication and transaction. I think in my experiences, and I think quite unfortunately, in a remote and hybrid space, which I'm a huge proponent of, you have to be a lot more proactive and intentional. And I see so many meetings turn into agenda, get through these list of items, and then we crank through it and we get to the next meeting. And you lose that. You lose that sharing of, oh my gosh, I just went to Italy and here's all the things I did. And I know you're going. You should definitely go here. I read this amazing book. The environment of today's professional, spaces doesn't seem as embracing of that, which I think is a huge loss because to your point, Ravi, it is so simple, but if you don't see it modeled, if you don't see it, you know, formalized in programs like MentorCloud is able to prop up, you lose it. And I think people become fearful of sharing because it's not, quote unquote work, if that makes sense.
That's really interesting. That's an interesting perspective because I have been working remotely for over 10 years now, and I will have to say a good amount of my good friends I may not have ever even met in person. And
Same. Yep.
To be able to form those kind of relationships, you're right, it has to be intentional and it has to be something that you prioritize. So I think, Ravi, I think our audience would love to learn from you. And Karen, feel free to jump on this as well. So again, Karen's Director of Customer Success at MentorCloud. So we have some really amazing mentoring expertise in this call. What is it about a mentoring program that makes it successful? Because I think so many of them fail because people genuinely, they believe in mentoring and they know it's good, but they don't know how to programatize it or make it intentional. So what advice do either of you have for somebody who's thinking about setting up a mentoring program?
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'll take that one. I think one of the things that makes MentorCloud so unique and above any other company out there is that we can go in there into any organization or community and we consult with them and we build out a custom mentoring program. So we work with our customers and listen to what their needs are, and we build out that program for them. So we can design off-the-shelf programs, but we can also build custom programs like we have for Marriott or Merck or, the Arizona Small Business Association that are completely custom. And then we can learn and then pivot from those learnings to optimize that program as well, so that we get the best for both the mentee and the mentor as they go along in their journey and in their relationship, so that they have the best experience possible. Ravi, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a point. It all comes down to, again, we'll use the analogy of going to Italy as an idea, right? We do a really good job when it comes to planning our vacations. Where are we staying? How many days? Where are we going to eat? What place are we going to see? Do we have the local currency? So when it comes to planning a career or even launching a mentoring program, so much thought has not gone into it. Oh, let's launch a mentoring program and let's Susan meet John and let's see magic happens. They'll meet and do something. uh, so this consultative approach is so important that I have found is that helping our organizations think through why, most importantly why, and second question is why now. If those two are not clear, whatever you do is not going to be effective. So helping our organizations, the understand the value of why do something, why now, is really sometimes they feel very uncomfortable answering those questions. No, we just want to do it. No, tell me why. And I think the fact that we really focus on it, they actually come back and appreciate, because they are very clear where they are going. Ultimately, we are all on a journey, right? And how do we take a group of people, whether it is a group of new hires, or or if it's a group of women who are in a specific program, how do you take them from point A in their journey to point B? So sometimes I describe MentorCloud, we are in the people movement business. We move people from where they are to where they could be, if only they really had the right support of executives and mentors, and the right resources and the right guidance. So to move people from A to B, you need to know where they are today, where do you want them to go, how will you measure this whole movement when it comes to skills, or their, you know um, wherever they are in their career. So doing an upfront, a good design, and then supporting the people on, okay, how do you make the best out of this particular journey as mentors and mentees, and having clear KPIs. Those are all important things. And traditionally, a lot of executives sort of skip this. Let's go to Italy and figure it out. No, we don't do that, right? We plan it. So don't launch mentoring programs just like that. You got to be very intentional, design it well, train people, and let them know what's in it for them. Because human beings, how much ever we know, we are always about what's in it for me. This, whether even exercise or anything like that. So what's in it for the mentors to spend their time? Like you mentioned, Laura mentioned, when people are, they have to know why, they have to be, sharing, because sharing is empowering. We have to really inculcate that culture. A sun that shines brightly in the sky is much more attractive than the sun standing behind the clouds. So let all the top people in the company come out and share their wisdom and be known to everybody. So everybody says, "Oh my God, John's fireside chat was amazing. I mean, Susan, wow, her story is so inspiring. How wonderful that is! Everybody in the company is talking about your work like that." So making it so valuable for being a mentor, and then you know making the people realize that, again, I give you analogies, right? If you're a little plant, being under the sun is more empowering and sort of nourishing than being in the shade. So let the mentees also sort of flourish, with the help of mentors in the company. So by letting people know the value of it, then the participation can be much higher.
I love that. And for those who are listening, I hope you had a pen and paper, because that was a whole bunch of questions that you should definitely write down as you're thinking about your program. And as you're designing it intentionally, thinking about what is the purpose, why are you doing, and I'm reiterating the things that you've said. What is the incentive for your mentors? Why are they doing it? And what are you doing to make them feel really good about putting that time in? What is the incentive for your mentees to participate and prioritize that within their busy day? And how are you going to measure the success of that? And I think those are really, really critical points. So thank you for sharing those. So I want to get to community. So how do you think about community as supporting what would otherwise typically be a one-to-one type relationship? What do you think is the role there of community? And you mentioned fireside chats. So talk to us a little bit about how the broader program helps to support those individual relationships.
Yeah, excellent question. The community is one of my favorite words. And I was once in Calgary, Canada, and I kept using that word community. And somebody asked, "What does community mean to you?" Like, I think I just mentioned, yeah, common unity. Duh. Like, it was so casual that I just said it. So So community is nothing but tapping into the common unity that that brings us together in the first place. When you're working for a company, or when you're an alumni of a university, or when you work for a non-profit, there is a certain unifying force that is bringing us all together. But using that collectiveness, we actually go sort of go ahead in our journeys, right? So a community is people coming together because we all work for a company. We have a shared mission that we heard from our leaders. We know where we are going, and it is the how they say, right, the weakest link in a chain, right? It could be a very powerful chain, but one weak link can make it weak, right? So if everybody can be empowered to really keep that sharing and learning chain in a company strong, and on demand, and anyone anywhere can share and learn, then everybody sort of grows. And when the community grows, when the people grow, the company naturally grows. When we are all effective in whatever we do, then naturally the outcomes will be better, and the organization will definitely perform better. So a community is really people helping people. That's what make companies, right? In fact, somebody recently told me a company word itself came, hey, who are you in company with? It's not an entity. A company by design is a community. So if you can have that perspective, that we all are in this together, it's the people that make an organization successful. Organization otherwise is just an entity, right?
Love
But
that.
so people coming together, being in good company of each other, right? When we go on a trip, imagine if all of us on this trip are having fun, supporting one another, and so journey is that much more exciting. Imagine the same thing if you translate into an organization. you know uh, it is not at all utopian thinking. It can be done. That's what determines culture. Some companies are rated very high for culture. Why? Because there is that sense of community inherent in everything that they do.
I love that. Hey, Jackie, I'm going to call on you and ask you, did mentoring, even informally, did that play a role in the open source communities that you've worked with? And
Very much.
that a little bit?
Very much so. Without mentoring, especially informal mentoring, it is actually really hard to onboard and retain contributors, because like especially in the last open source project that I was a part of, it was very niche. So folks had to have a different set of technical skills before they could even use this. So it was not just teaching them how to use the product or use the open source project. It was actually teaching them about like Kubernetes and that ecosystem and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the times, we were in Slack, people were asking questions, and that was one way that we were also like, hey, you have all these questions, why don't you just set up some time with us, or why don't you come to the community meeting and we deep dive into your issues? Or it would also be done through like the ticketing system, where a lot of that conversation would happen there. But we had multiple channels where folks could also get that informal mentoring help. Yeah, so without it, open source is also it doesn't happen. Projects don't move forward.
In
So
fact,
I want to throw a, oh, go ahead, Ravi.
yeah, no, Jackie used the word informal, a few times. Really, all of us, when we look back, there were other people who informally showed us the way, who informally said, "Hey, you should apply here." I was on another podcast recently, and at every step of the way in my life journey, I come from a very small town. We have come from a very, very modest family. We didn't have enough resources when we were growing up, but somebody always said, "Hey, you should do this. Hey, you should go there. You should check it out." So that informal is very important, because we can definitely formalize it in an organization, but informally we have all been touched by mentorship. Mentorship is somebody caring about your well-being. It's as simple as that. So when you make people reflect on it, said, yeah, that's true. My uncle, my neighbor, my former colleague that Laura was talking about, my former boss. So if you can formalize it in an organization, magic happens.
No, very much so. I agree with that. And it's kind of going back to your original question, Jamie, in regards to like mentors who have touched our lives, like I've had two very prominent ones, and one of them is actually one that I met when I was very young. I was about 10 years old, and similar to Ravi, come from a very like humble beginnings. My mom's single mom immigrant, and she's cleaned houses. Like that's been her business. And so she was working with this woman, and Matt Len's been my mentor, and we still have a relationship, and I'm 33 years old. So these relationships, like it's been one of my most important relationships, like family now. But without her, I don't think I would be where I am. I'd probably be just another statistic, probably like teenage pregnancy, working, minimum wage jobs. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I wouldn't have had a professional career. I wouldn't have been pushed to go and, backpack through Southeast Asia, going to college or going and studying to France. And she's played a very pivotal role in my life.
I just want to add something that that sparked in me. In mentoring and in community, it's a place where you feel like you belong.
Yes.
Yes,
And
very much so.
Yeah. And you feel seen and you feel heard. And I think that that's something in this day and age we all want, we all need. And we're longing for that. And it's so important, whether it's just in your personal life, like, you need to belong to even grow, or in your organization and they provide you with mentorship, or if you belong to a community and they have a mentorship program available. That's why people want to have a mentor or belong to a community, is because they want to belong and they want to be seen and they want to be heard and they want to grow.
Yeah, it's very true. That resonates very much with me, because I think for both the mentors that I've had in my life and in my professional career, one of the things that I think I selfishly maintained a lot of those relationships, because I felt really good about just being myself. Like it was okay to be me.
Yeah.
And I was encouraged, like my other mentor, Tracy, very much encouraged me to, like, she's like, oh, you should misbehave. You should be having fun. You should be partying. But also, like, you should also be doing, like try to enjoy your life as well, like as roundedly as possible. Like, yes, have a professional career, but also have an amazing personal life. So that's what I loved about mentoring.
So it brings me to a question that I want to pose to Laura and to Ravi. So Laura, you're focused right now on building up your coaching practice, and there is some crossover between a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. And so I would love to hear both of your thoughts on what does that look like, and how should people prepare to be a mentor, and what kind of differences are there? Dig into that a little bit for us, and let's talk about that.
Sure. Ravi, do you want to go? Do you want me to go? You let me know.
Yeah, I can go first.
Okay.
It's really interesting. All of us need both, right? We need a coach and a mentor, right? In my experience, a coach is someone that extracts the genius out of the other person. So
like that.
igniting the genius within is really one of my mentors / coaches, tagline for his entire career. So just like Jackie, I've known him for last 25 years, and I just met him over the weekend. So extracting the genius out of another individual is coaching, and transfer of wisdom, the experiential knowledge, is mentorship. So sometimes I need a coach who can really look at Ravi objectively and say, what is Ravi really good at? Where can he shine? What can he do that is so natural to him? I need that. And sometimes I need someone to say, Ravi, here is how you raise money. Here is how you hire people. Here is how you take your company public. People who have been there, done that are telling me this works, this doesn't. That is wisdom. So everybody needs both to truly shine because when somebody identifies our natural frequency, we tend to do really well. We don't have to do anything. This is us, right? And sometimes we got to enhance our skills as well. So that's the two-sided coin for as a mentor and a coach. So Laura, what do you think?
Yeah, I love that perspective. And the way I was thinking about this is it's kind of a spectrum. To Ravi's point, you need both. And I think depending on the engagement you're a part of, you kind of have to recognize what you're leaning into a little bit more. What does this person need? Do they need more of that extraction of genius and a bit more of a direct, like, hey, you can do X, Y, and Z. Like, this is how you're going to, you can go do that. Or do they need someone who is maybe erring on more of a mentorship side, sharing, experiencing, I've lived this, I've done this, and it resonates in a different way. So I think both kind of regularly exist within the same space. It's just kind of recognizing what the individual or the group of individuals you're working with need at any given moment. So anyway, the short of it is I agree with Ravi that both exist together.
So I'll ask a more pointed question, which I think those responses were great and very insightful. And I think you're right that we do need both. When I mentioned sponsorship, so to me, a sponsor is somebody who takes their own, let's say, social capital and spends that on your behalf, that they go out and actively advocate for you. Do you feel that that is something that is the responsibility of a mentor, or does that fall outside of their typical relationship?
Laura.
I'm pondering that one. I mean, my instinct, and I don't have as much familiarity with formal sponsorship, if you will, but my instinct on that is if you believe in an individual and you are genuinely supportive of that individual, if it feels authentic to go out and advocate more publicly or formally for that person, then absolutely. I don't think it needs to be delineated and if this is, the bucket you're in, you do X. If this is the bucket you're in, you do Y. If it feels appropriate to shout from the rooftops and formally try and help someone, then yeah, if you're a mentor, go do it. If you're a coach, go do it. To me, the distinction feels blurry. I don't know. What do you think about that, Ravi? Does that make sense from your perspective?
Yeah. In fact, all three of them, whether you are a mentor, whether you are a coach, you're a sponsor, the core sort of the foundation is that I care about someone.
Right.
I care
Exactly.
about someone. So sponsorship is one aspect of that caring, where I genuinely want this person to be known in the organization, and if there is a specific role that I really want this person to be the next person in that role. So when it is especially around succession planning is when we see a lot of
Mhm.
sponsorship. We also see sponsorship when it comes to making sure that there is enough diversity in the executive ranks. So almost grooming people to the next role, and that could involve the sponsorship idea. The process could involve mentoring and coaching this person as well. So it is almost like sponsorship is very targeted to a specific role or a specific position. And Indra Nui talks about it a lot. Indra, who is the chairwoman of Pepsi, she said so many people sought her to say, hey, I want to mentor you. I think you should be the next CEO of Pepsi. So she has some very interesting videos on YouTube as how to be the most sought after mentee, right? And I mentioned it also in my book. So she had great mentors, and she also had great sponsors who really wanted her to be the next CEO of Pepsi, and of course, she became one. So that's how I see all of these three playing together on a foundation of I care about this individual.
I love that. And that kind of goes back to what Karen was saying about belonging. And I think in this context, I mean, this has opened my mind too, as we've been talking about this, that community, one of the characteristics is that it should essentially be mentoring at scale, where you go into a place where you are seen as you are, and the people there are invested in your success. And there are some who define community as a shared sense of caring for each other and for a shared objective. So I think this has been really, really eye-opening and mind-expanding for me. And hopefully our audience has enjoyed that as well. And ladies, do you have any last questions for Dr. Ravi before we let him go?
Sure, I do. So is the mentee picked, or do you pick the mentor?
Or who picks whom?
Yeah, who picks whom?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. In fact, I just talked about Indira Nooyi, right? Indira, as a mentee, was actually picked by her mentors, and there's a nice video how people would knock on a door and say, "Hey, if you ever need help, I think you should run the chips division in at Pepsi, because you will understand that." So I think she was definitely picked by the mentors because she showed a potential. But naturally, most of the times it is the mentee who's picking the mentors, right? Because mentors are in an organization setting that can happen. What happened to Indira Nooyi? But in general, mentors are busy. They have 200 things that they're working on. So it is highly unlikely that they will seek out to help someone. But so that's why mentees, you have to step up. Asking for help is not at all a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength, that you really want to get somewhere. So this is a myth that, oh, when you need a mentor or a coach, you are in a tough situation. Not at all. High aspirers should have mentors and coaches. People have big dreams because they don't have time. They don't have their whole lifetime to achieve their particular objective or their goal. And people who are in a rush, people who are highly ambitious, people who are highly aspiring, they're the ones who should have a mentor because they want to get it done tomorrow. So mentees out there, wherever you are, everybody can be a mentee. I have mentors right now. I'm not done. I'm seeking out. Tomorrow evening I have a coffee because I'm meeting somebody to learn something. I don't have time. Who knows, when our last day on the planet is. It happened to me. I just bought a ticket and got on a plane. I didn't know that could have been the last day. So none of us know what the last day is. So have that sense of urgency and really seek out help. And there are at least 100 million people out there who are willing to help you. But if you don't show up, a product in Walmart is of no value if you don't go out looking for it. Similarly, there are enough people in the world who are willing to share and learn, share their wisdom, but you have to ask. And asking is empowering. Asking is a sign of strength.
I love that. Dr. Ravi Gundlapalli, thank you so much for joining us today. Go out, check out the book, The Art of Mentoring. If you are interested in running a mentoring program within your organization, reach out to MentorCloud at mentorcloud.com. And we are so excited to welcome next week. Our special guest is Lex Roman, who is the queen of growth for small organizations and creators. So that is going to be an amazing conversation about partnerships and how to work with your community. So really looking forward to that chat. Otherwise, thank you so much, everybody. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you next Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you all. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.